This podcast is brought to you by Shattered Justice.
Welcome back for another episode of the AI Analysis Podcast.
Hey, everyone.
Many of you may not know that our conversation topics are randomly selected with a spinning wheel app, and this week it landed on the AI Analysis Podcast.
So a bit meta this week?
Exactly. So we're going to take a look back at our first episode and see if we can crash our own AI matrix.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What was the first one again?
So this is our look back at the Average Intelligence Podcast, doing a deep dive on symbolism and themes of the movie Titanic.
Titanic. Okay. It's a cultural touchstone, isn't it? A story most of us are pretty familiar with.
Definitely.
But yeah, beyond the romance, the tragedy, there's supposedly this fascinating tapestry of symbolism. We're revisiting the Average Intelligence Podcast's exploration of those deeper meanings.
Exactly. And let's kind of set aside any historical debates for now. That's not really the focus here.
Right, not about historical accuracy this time.
Our aim is more to explore how the filmmakers used visual cues, color, costumes, character actions to weave a richer, maybe more layered narrative. We're interested in themes like societal pressures, personal journeys, that sort of thing.
Precisely. So our goal isn't just to retell the story, but to see if we can uncover new layers maybe in a film we think we already know inside out.
Yeah, examining Titanic through a fresh lens, focusing on that symbolic language they used.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Okay, let's dive in with something immediately apparent. Color. The Average Intelligence Podcast pointed out that the color palettes for Jack, Rose, and Cal weren't just, random choices.
No, they felt very deliberate, imbued with significance.
It's intriguing how these choices can function almost like a visual code, right? Offering insights into the characters' inner states and the dynamics between them.
Definitely. Think about Rose when we first meet her. She's often white and purple.
Right. White, obviously, often symbolizing innocence. Purity, almost an untouched quality. And purple, that's historically linked with royalty, privilege. So right from the start, you get this sense of her as someone seemingly pristine, but also kind of confined by the opulence and expectations.
Yeah. Trapped by her social standing, her arranged marriage to Cal.
Why do you think the filmmakers picked those specific colors right at the beginning?
Well, that's a good question. The white could really emphasize the societal expectation of female purity back then, right? While the purple subtly hints at that gilded cage she lives in. It's like she's presented as this ideal, but she's completely bound by these rigid constraints.
And that's such a sharp contrast with her mother.
Oh, absolutely. The Average Intelligence Podcast noted she frequently shows up in green.
Yes, that constant green. Apparently in this context, green symbolizes wealth, ambition, but maybe also carries undertones of greed, jealousy even.
It could be. It's like her mother's kind of channeling her own aspirations for social climbing through Rose, just relentlessly pushing her towards status.
It creates this real visual tension, doesn't it? Putting that consistent green against Rose's initial white and purple.
Totally. It visually underscores that fundamental conflict, Rose's own emerging desires versus the materialistic ambitions of her family, her whole social circle.
It really lays the groundwork for Rose's whole journey.
Yeah, that interplay of values is crucial.
Okay, now let's shift to that iconic corset scene. It's visually memorable, sure, but the Average Intelligence Podcast suggested it operates on a much deeper level.
Oh, yeah, it's fascinating how that scene works, both literally and metaphorically.
How so?
Well, the corset physically restricts her, right? Her movement, her breathing. And in doing that, it symbolizes all those societal constraints imposed on her class, the expectations for women then.
Like being forced into a mold that just doesn't fit her spirit.
Exactly. And that feeling of being restricted by external pressures, even if not literally by a corset, is something I think many of us can still kind of relate to today.
True. But it's interesting how, as her relationship with Jack develops, her wardrobe changes too.
Right. Her clothes become less structured, looser, more flowing.
What's the significance there?
Well, that visual evolution mirrors her internal transformation, doesn't it? As she embraces her feelings for Jack, starts discovering her own desires, she's literally shedding those restrictive garments.
Signifying freedom, self-expression, getting comfortable with herself.
Yeah, her authentic self.
Definitely. Okay, now let's talk about Jack. The Average Intelligence Podcast looked at him through the lens of the masculine imperative.
Yes, that concept. For those maybe unfamiliar, it refers to that traditional societal expectation, that men should be protectors, providers.
And how does Jack fit that mold?
Well, Jack certainly embodies that archetype. He consistently puts Rose's safety and well-being first.
We see it again and again.
Yeah, he rescues her from potential harm, offers that unwavering emotional support, and ultimately, fights for her survival during the sinking.
But here's a really thought-provoking angle they raised. Could Jack's constant heroism, even though it's noble, inadvertently reinforce those traditional gender roles? What do you think?
That's a crucial point. It does raise questions about how narratives, even ones that seem progressive, can sometimes subtly perpetuate existing norms.
By always having him be the rescuer.
Could it inadvertently reinforce the idea that women need saving? And initially, Rose does seem to align with what they call the feminine imperative, right? Where women are expected to prioritize preservation, security.
It's like she's caught between these two forces, the expectation to be protected and this deep yearning for personal freedom and agency. That internal conflict really peaks when she chooses to go back to the sinking ship for Jack, doesn't it?
Yeah, what's compelling there is how it works as both this profound declaration of love and a defiant act against those societal expectations.
She actively chooses danger with him instead of passively seeking safety alone.
Right. But it does make you think about the potential ramifications of that choice.
It's a weighty thought, the interplay between personal choice, societal pressures, and the unforeseen consequences.
I'm looking for a girl named Dana. Does she still work here?
I don't know any Dana.
I'm your father.
CPS took my daughter. Got into some really big trouble.
What kind of trouble?
No.
The body of Dana Delgado was discovered this morning.
I'm sorry, Joe.
Dana, Peter, and Antonio worked for a corporation called SIC.
We have to get out of town. Antonio sold us out.
I know things.
What kind of things? If you were doing your job, detective, and find the killer.
People you're after, they own this city. In a city where corruption often lurks in the shadows, most killers walk free.
Okay, so the Average Intelligence podcast also looked at the individual character arcs, Rose, Jack, and Cal.
Yes, they identified these distinct paths for each. Rose undergoes this significant personal evolution, a positive arc, as they put it.
Grows and changes a lot.
Big time.
Yeah.
Jack, interestingly, stays largely consistent throughout the film.
Right, he's the steadfast hero, a constant force of good. They call this a flat arc.
He doesn't experience significant internal change himself, but his character acts as a catalyst for transformation in others, especially Rose.
So what are the narrative implications of having a static protagonist when the story is so much about change?
Well, that's key. A flat arc character often serves as a kind of moral compass or a consistent influence that allows others to evolve. Jack's unchanging nature provides that stable foundation against which you can really measure Rose's dramatic growth.
Okay, and then we have Cal.
Cal, the clear antagonist.
Definitely. How does his journey play out?
Well, in sharp contrast to both Rose and Jack, Cal has a negative arc. He starts off seeming charming, maybe?
Ish, with hints of possessiveness already there.
Exactly. But as the story goes on, he becomes increasingly jealous, cruel, and just completely consumed by his own selfish desires.
And ultimately, his obsession with wealth and status leads to his downfall. He loses Rose, loses the necklace, ends up with nothing but bitterness.
Yeah, it's a classic cautionary tale, isn't it, about misplaced priorities.
Totally.
His negative arc serves as this powerful reminder that real fulfillment comes from genuine human connection, personal growth, not just chasing money or status.
It's really remarkable how these three contrasting arcs, positive, flat, negative, weave together to create such a complex and, well, emotionally resonant story.
Absolutely. The film basically presents these three paths, each with its own consequences, making you think about which path you might be on and what really matters in the end.
Okay, let's dig into some specific key scenes and their symbolic weight, starting with the drawing scene.
Right, a truly pivotal moment. And the Average Intelligence podcast offered a compelling interpretation, focusing on female agency and consent.
Yeah, it's striking because despite her sheltered upbringing, Rose is the one initiating the encounter. She's not passive, she's an active participant, making her own choices, clearly stating her desires to Jack. What does that tell us about her evolving character?
It signifies a huge step in her self-discovery journey. She's taking ownership of her body, her desires, communicating her wants directly.
Which is a powerful statement of female empowerment, especially for that time.
Totally. She's rejecting the limitations imposed on her and embracing a more authentic self. That scene really marks a turning point.
Okay, let's think back to their first proper meeting. She's wearing that unforgettable red dress with the black overlay.
Ah, yes. Perfect example of using color to foreshadow. Red, so often linked with passion, love.
Is literally veiled by black, a color often tied to grief, mourning. It's almost a visual premonition of their tragic love story.
Exactly. Why layer those two colors specifically?
Well, the layering creates this potent visual tension. The vibrant red hints at the passion about to ignite, while the black overlay suddenly foreshadows the tragedy looming over them.
And the fact that some red still shows through.
Yeah. The Average Intelligence podcast connected that to the persistent element of danger, or maybe catastrophe, that runs through their relationship. It's subtle but effective foreshadowing.
Very. And while we're on clothes, what about Jack's purple shirt?
That's another interesting one. When he first meets Rose properly, he's got that working class flannel coat on, right? Visually setting him apart by class. But later, when he's about to jump in after her, he takes off the coat, reveals a purple shirt underneath. And we said, purple can mean royalty.
Right.
What's the deal there?
It feels like the film is drawing this visual contrast, doesn't it, between Jack, who embodies this kind of inherent nobility of spirit, and Cal, who has the title and wealth but lacks genuine character.
So Jack, despite his background, shows true bravery, selflessness. It's a subtle visual metaphor challenging those conventional ideas of class and worth.
Right. Suggesting true value isn't about external status, but inner qualities. And this idea of authentic connection versus superficiality pops up again with the Heart of the Ocean necklace scene.
Oh, that scene is so revealing. Cal tries to buy her affection back with this incredibly valuable object.
Underscoring his belief that love can be transactional, something you acquire with money.
Which is the complete opposite of the genuine, intangible bond between Jack and Rose.
Exactly. And this theme continues in the third-class party scene. The Average Intelligence podcast saw this as a metaphor for Rose willingly submitting to Jack's lead.
Both literally in the dance and metaphorically in life.
Yeah. By letting him guide her, she shows trust and openness to a different way of experiencing the world.
And her clothes in that scene even reflect the shift, right? More pink showing through the black overlay.
Definitely. The colors are communicating her growing feelings. And Jack just fits right in down there, doesn't he? Even mocks the oblivious first-class passengers.
It's like he's showing her a world where social hierarchy matters less, where genuine joy is valued over appearances.
And she clearly thrives there. Remember that moment after the arm wrestling where she does that ballet move on point?
Yes. What was the significance of that?
Well, that impromptu move is this powerful expression of her newfound freedom and strength. It's a display of grace and ability beyond the traditional expectations for women of her class. Shows a different kind of power.
Interesting. Then, of course, the iconic I'm flying Jack scene.
Rose is wearing that blue outfit again, the one from church, but with a green shawl this time. Blue often means serenity, maybe spiritual awakening. What's that saying about our mindset?
Well, the blue could symbolize her growing sense of inner peace and liberation as she embraces her true self and her love for Jack.
Okay.
But the green shawl, which we link to youth, in experience maybe suggests she's still on that journey of discovery, still learning and growing.
Right. And the visual of her literally leaning on Jack, taking that leap of faith with him, beautifully represents their partnership, the trust she places in him.
It's a perfect visual of their bond, navigating these new experiences together as equals. And their connection deepens even more in the car scene.
Absolutely. Their embrace in the red car, red again, passion, maybe danger, feels like the combination of Rose's liberation.
The car itself symbolizing freedom, mobility, their desire to escape their social confines and forge their own destiny.
And crucially, it's Rose who initiates that intimate moment, further emphasizing her agency.
It's such a stark contrast to Cal's controlling, possessive behavior. It really highlights the different ways they understand love. Now, as we get closer to the tragedy, the Average Intelligence podcast pointed out a subtle detail when Jack is falsely accused and arrested.
Yes, they notice Jack seems unusually subdued, almost uncomfortable. It's subtle, but maybe not quite himself, like the weight of his assumed identity is pressing down.
Invites speculation. Why might he seem off?
And maybe it underscores the tension of living under false pretenses. Or perhaps it even foreshadows his ultimate sacrifice, like he needs to shed that identity to become the hero.
It's definitely something to think about. Now, when the ship hits the iceberg, they revisited those ideas of masculine and feminine imperatives.
Right. They suggested Jack's immediate instinct is protector mode, while Rose hesitates for just a split second.
Her ingrained societal conditioning causing a flicker of doubt about his intentions?
Exactly. It's fleeting, but it speaks volumes about the power of those ingrained expectations.
It shows that even in extreme danger, she's still grappling with those norms, that feminine imperative of safety first, but she overcomes it quickly and trusts him.
And as the ship sinks, those traditional gender roles play out, but with significant twists. Jack takes charge, protects, guides.
But Rose, while initially relying on him, also shows incredible strength and agency herself throughout the whole crisis.
Absolutely. She actively helps free the third-class passengers, refuses to just give up, and ultimately makes that conscious choice to stay with Jack, knowing the massive risk. She's far from passive.
Right. And her jumping back onto the sinking ship is the ultimate defiance against that expectation of women being prioritized for safety.
She chooses love, passion, over self-preservation and convention, charts her own course, even facing death.
And even in his final moments, Jack's selfless sacrifice ensures her future, telling her to live a full life.
It's profoundly moving, isn't it? Highlighting the power of their love and his ultimate selflessness. Now, the Average Intelligence podcast also touched briefly on the symbolism of the ship's name, Titanic.
Yeah, connecting it to the mythological titans from ancient Greece, figures of immense power, rebellion against the established order.
It's like the name itself foreshadows the catastrophic results of human hubris, of defying nature. The ship becomes this potent symbol of life's fragility.
And within that grand, doomed setting, we see all these deeply personal stories unfold. Love, loss, sacrifice. It's amazing how universal themes are woven into intimate narratives, like that final image of old Rose.
The photo of her on the horse at Santa Monica Pier, roller coaster in the background, that's a direct visual callback to Jack's dreams, right?
Exactly. He described that very pier, the roller coaster excitement, and she promised she'd experience it. That photo is powerful proof she lived a full, adventurous life, honoring her promise, keeping his memory alive.
A poignant testament to their enduring connection. Now, thinking bigger picture, the Average Intelligence podcast didn't go deep into the symbolism of the other passengers, those who died. But does their fate offer symbolic layers?
It's tempting to look for meanings, isn't it? Maybe parallels between their lives and fate. Cal, consumed by greed, loses everything. Jack, selfless, makes the ultimate sacrifice. It reinforces the film's themes.
And even amidst the sinking chaos, there are those stark, visual reminders of inequality, like the third-class passengers trapped behind gates.
Yeah, the Average Intelligence podcast used that to highlight the film's commentary on class disparity during the disaster. A powerful visual of how privilege dictated access to safety.
But even there, we see Rose trying to help, defying the helpless, privileged woman stereotype.
Totally. And that contrasts sharply with Cal's utterly selfish actions using a child as a shield. It really underscores how differently people react under extreme pressure.
True. And circling back to social dynamics, that third-class party seems even more symbolically loaded now.
It's not just a fun romantic scene, it's Rose breaking free from those rigid social constraints. Taking off her gloves to dance is like symbolically shedding those limitations, embracing a more authentic way of being.
Their dance becomes a metaphor for their shared journey towards liberation, defying society, forging their own path.
But, as we know, that journey takes a devastating turn.
And in those final moments, the exploration of masculine and feminine roles hits peak intensity, Rose jumping out of the lifeboat.
The ultimate rejection of the idea that women should be prioritized for rescue no matter what. She actively chooses Jack, even facing near certain death.
But as we touched on, it does raise that lingering question. Did her choice, her defiance, inadvertently contribute to Jack's fate?
It's a complex ethical knot in their love story.
It really is. And then we have old Rose at the end, returning to the wreck site in her mind, finally releasing the heart of the ocean.
A profoundly symbolic act of closure, right? Letting go of the physical past, symbolically reuniting with Jack in memory. And significantly, she's wearing white.
Purity, peace achieved after a long, full life. A beautiful conclusion. The Average Intelligence podcast really did illuminate the richness of symbolism here.
It certainly did. Rose's transformation, Jack's steadfast influence, Cal's tragic fall. It's like we see these distinct paths and their consequences laid out.
And even tiny details, like that mention of a drawing in Jack's sketchbook, a woman with a heart pendant like the heart of the ocean, hints at even deeper, maybe unseen connections. destinies at play.
That detail really sparks the imagination, doesn't it? Suggesting maybe some pre-existing link between Jack, Rose, and the ship itself adds another layer of mystery.
It makes you look beyond the surface narrative, consider those unseen forces.
Mm-hmm.
So the key takeaway from revisiting this deep dive is really that Titanic is far more than just a blockbuster romance and disaster flick.
Yeah, it's meticulously crafted, brimming with symbolism that reveals profound insights into societal expectations, individual growth, and the enduring power of love against tragedy.
Absolutely. We definitely encourage you to rewatch Titanic with this lens, paying attention to the colors, the costumes, the character choices.
You might be surprised by the depth you uncover.
And on that note, here's a final thought to leave you with. Considering all these layers of symbolism, could there be even more profound connections? Maybe karmic past life links between Jack, Rose, and the Titanic?
Ooh, interesting.
It's an idea to ponder, right? To take on your own personal deep dive and consider the unseen forces that might shape even our most beloved stories.